Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be exploring AI and value creation frameworks. It's a topic that's transforming businesses everywhere. We're really diving deep into an essay by Jörg-Owe. He does a fantastic job breaking down how AI is revolutionizing these frameworks. Okay, let's unpack this. To set the stage, can you give us a little historical context on value creation?
Yeah, absolutely. The concept of value creation has gone through a really, really massive shift. If you think way back to the old days, value was all about like tangible goods. You built something, you sold it. But as technology advanced, intangible assets like intellectual property and customer relationships became the real game changers.
Especially with the rise of software and the internet.
Exactly. Yeah. And now AI is like pushing this evolution even further. It's not even just automating tasks. It's about creating entirely new forms of value.
That's a really good point.
Schneepat dives into this by highlighting these three core components of AI-driven value creation. You got data architecture and impact. Data is the foundation. It's like the raw material that these AI algorithms feed on. Architecture is how the system is structured to process that data and generate those valuable insights. And impact, well, that's the ultimate goal. How is AI actually moving the needle? Schneepat provides some interesting examples of this, from AI-powered content marketing to even optimizing complex manufacturing processes.
Yeah, you mentioned those examples. Are there any that really stand out to you? Especially for someone trying to grasp the tangible benefits of AI in business.
Yeah, one that comes to mind is how AI is transforming content marketing. Schneepat points out that AI-powered tools can boost efficiency by up to 30%. That's not just about churning out more content. It's about freeing up content creators to focus on strategy and creativity and letting AI handle the more tedious tasks.
That's a very compelling statistic, I have to say. But Schneepat doesn't shy away from the challenges, does he? He mentions that something like 85% of AI projects fail to deliver measurable impact. That's a reality check for anyone thinking AI is a cure-all.
It definitely is, yeah, and there's several reasons for this. Sometimes companies choose the wrong use cases for AI, or they struggle to manage their data effectively, and other times they just fail to align the technology with their broader business goals. It's not a simple plug-and-play solution.
Yeah, that makes sense. It highlights the importance of strategy and careful implementation. But even with those challenges, the potential of AI seems undeniable. What kind of opportunities does Schneepat emphasize?
He really focuses on how AI can optimize entire value streams. Think about personalizing customer journeys, driving innovation across industries, and making existing processes just drastically more efficient. We're talking about transforming industries from the ground up.
So it's not just incremental improvements. It's like a fundamental shift in how we approach value creation.
Exactly. And what's so fascinating is that we're still in the early stages of this AI revolution. There's so much more potential to unlock. But to realize that potential requires strategic thinking, a willingness to experiment, and honestly a bit of courage to embrace the unknown.
Now let's dive into the heart of AI, the algorithms. Schneepat breaks down some core machine learning concepts, starting with supervised learning. Can you explain that in a way that makes sense, even for someone who's not a data scientist?
Okay, so think of supervised learning like teaching a dog a new trick. You give it examples, you tell it what's right or wrong, and it learns to recognize patterns. This is used in everything from spam filters that learn to identify junk mail to algorithms that predict which customers might cancel their subscriptions.
So it's all about learning from labeled data-making predictions based on existing knowledge.
Precisely. Then there's unsupervised learning, which is more like giving the dog a puzzle and letting it figure things out on its own. This approach uncovers hidden structures in data without any explicit instructions. So things like grouping customers with similar behaviors or detecting anomalies in financial transactions rely heavily on unsupervised learning.
So it's about finding patterns and relationships that we might not even be aware of.
That's right. And finally, we have reinforcement learning. Imagine letting that dog loose in a maze with treats scattered throughout. It learns through trial and error, figuring out the best actions to take to get the most rewards. This is how we train robots to navigate complex environments and even create AI that can master games like chess or Go.
It sounds like each of these learning approaches has its own unique applications and strengths.
Absolutely. And Schneepat goes on to mention even more advanced techniques like deep learning. Deep learning is, it's fascinating because it utilizes these complex neural networks. They actually mimic the structure of the human brain to analyze huge amounts of data. It can actually learn features from the raw data automatically, which makes the whole development process way simpler.
Can you give me an example of that? Because I think a lot of people struggle to grasp what that actually means.
Yeah, so imagine you're trying to teach a computer to recognize a cat. Without deep learning, you'd have to manually define all of the features, pointy ears, whiskers, tail, all that. It would just be a ridiculously complex task.
Yeah.
But with deep learning, the algorithm can figure out all those features on its own just by analyzing thousands and thousands of pictures of cats.
So it's like the algorithm is developing its own understanding of what makes a cat without us having to tell it.
Exactly. And that's just barely scratching the surface. Schneepat also brings up these generative adversarial networks, or GANs. They're really intriguing because they pit two neural networks against each other. One network tries to generate realistic data, while the other network tries to spot the fakes.
Interesting.
And this competition, it forces both networks to improve, and it leads to some pretty amazing results.
Like what? What are some real-world applications of GANs?
One area where they're making waves is in synthetic data generation. So, for example, if you're training an AI model that needs a huge amount of medical data, GANs can generate realistic, anonymized patient data, and that can address privacy concerns and even accelerate research.
That's incredible. It sounds like we're only beginning to tap into the potential of these advanced techniques. Schneepat also talks about transfer learning. What's that all about?
Transfer learning is basically leveraging knowledge that's gained from one task to improve performance on a related task. Think of it this way. You learn to ride a bicycle, and then you find it much easier to learn how to ride a motorcycle because some of those skills transfer over.
So it's about finding efficiencies and shortcuts in the learning process.
Exactly. Now, Schneepat goes on to explore how all of this is playing out in specific industries, and he focuses on manufacturing and operations, which is a sector that's really ripe for AI disruption.
Yeah, manufacturing is a very complex world with so many moving parts. What are some of the key areas where AI is making a real impact?
Well, Schneepat highlights how AI is being used to optimize energy audits, analyze consumption patterns, and improve predictive maintenance. This means that factories can anticipate equipment failures before they happen, which reduces downtime and saves a lot of money.
It's like having a crystal ball for your machines.
In a way, yeah.
Right.
And it's not just about speed and cost savings. AI is also enabling companies to improve product quality and consistency. Imagine an AI system that can spot defects on a production line in real time and prevent faulty products from reaching the customers.
That's a huge game changer for industries where quality control is so important.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about sustainability. Schneepat points out how AI is actually driving this shift towards more environmentally friendly manufacturing practices. They're optimizing resource allocation, reducing waste, and improving energy efficiency.
It's encouraging to hear that AI can actually be a force for good in this regard. But what about the workforce? There's a lot of concern about AI replacing jobs.
Yeah, that's definitely a valid concern, and Schneepat acknowledges that there are workforce challenges to address. As AI takes on more tasks, companies need to invest in training and upskilling their employees to work alongside these intelligence systems.
So it's not really humans versus machines. It's more like humans and machines working together.
Precisely. Yeah. It's about finding that balance between automation and human expertise and really leveraging the strengths of both to create a more efficient and adaptable workforce.
So looking at everything Schneepat lays out, what does this all mean for the future of business?
Schneepat's essay paints this picture of a future where AI is deeply intertwined with how we create value. It's not just a tool. It's like a fundamental shift in how we approach business. And he argues that companies need to start seeing AI as like a strategic imperative, not just a technological novelty. Those who embrace this shift and adapt their value creation frameworks accordingly are going to be the ones who thrive in this new landscape.
Sounds like a call to action for business leaders to start thinking differently about how they operate and how AI fits into the equation.
Yeah.
It really does feel like those who don't adapt are going to get left behind. Schneepat's essay has given us a lot to think about, from the historical evolution of value creation to the specific ways AI is transforming entire industries. But what really sticks with me is his final thought-provoking question. As AI continues to evolve at this incredible pace, how will value creation frameworks need to adapt to stay relevant and effective?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The frameworks that we use today might not be enough to really capture the complexity of this AI-driven world. We might even need entirely new ways of thinking about value itself, like how it's created, how it's measured, and even how it's distributed.
It's almost like we need to redefine what value even means in the context of AI.
Exactly. And Schneepat's essay is really just a starting point. It's a catalyst for a much broader conversation. It's an invitation to go out there and explore, experiment, be bold in how we approach this new era of value creation.
His insights have definitely sparked a lot of questions for me, and I'm sure for our listeners as well. For anyone looking to really delve deeper into this topic, Jörg-Owe work is a really great place to start.
I agree. His work provides a solid foundation for understanding the potential and also the challenges of AI in this age of value creation.
And that's what makes the deep dive so fascinating. We're not just exploring technology. We're grappling with the future of business, of society, of how we understand and create value in a world that's being increasingly shaped by AI.
It's a future that we're all shaping together, and Schneppat's insights give us a really valuable roadmap for navigating the uncharted territory that lies ahead.